No one told you. You might think flipping houses in 2026 is all about finding an ugly property, slapping on some paint, and walking away with a big check.
But if you try to flip houses the way people did in 2019, you are almost guaranteed to lose money in this market.
The truth is, you are probably flipping houses wrong in 2026. And today I am going to give you 5 rules no one told you that can literally save your next deal.
Whether you have not done your first flip yet or you are coming off a bad one, stay with me, because once you understand these rules,
you will look at every flip completely differently. Let's get into it.
Rule number 1. You do not make your money on the rehab, you make your money when you buy. Most new flippers think the profit comes from how nice they make the house. They obsess over design, finishes, and HGTV-style transformations. But if you overpay for the property in 2026, it does not matter how nice the rehab is, you are just polishing a bad deal. The biggest mistake new investors make is forcing the numbers to work. They see a property, fall in love with the potential, and then reverse engineer the math to justify an offer that is way too high. That might work on TV. It does not work when real money is on the line. In 2026, margins on flips are tighter than they have been in years. Your buy price is everything. You have probably heard rules like don't pay more than 70% of ARV minus repairs. That is a decent guideline, but not magic. The idea is simple. You must leave enough room between your all-in cost and the final resale value to cover holding costs, closing costs, realtor commissions, financing, and still have a profit.
If you blow that margin at the purchase, no amount of creative design will save you, so you have to get brutally honest about your maximum allowable offer.
You start with a conservative ARV, what a properly renovated property will realistically sell for in today's market, not in your dream scenario. Then you subtract a realistic renovation budget, not your if everything goes perfectly budget. Then you subtract holding costs, closing costs, and selling costs. What is left is your profit.
If that profit is not worth the risk, you walk away. You make money when you buy is not just a catchphrase in 2026, it is survival.
Rule number 2. Stop renovating for yourself. This is one of the quiet killers of profit, especially for beginners. New flippers walk through a dated property and start imagining their dream kitchen, their dream bathroom, their personal taste in flooring, lighting, and paint colors.
Then they build the project around what they like instead of around what the local buyer pool actually wants.
The result is a bloated budget, over-design, and a finished product that does not necessarily sell faster or for more money. In 2026, buyers are smarter and more price sensitive. They care about value and livability more than your niche design choices. That does not mean your flip should look cheap. It means you should design based on comps, not based on Instagram. When you look at recently sold properties in your area that flew off the market, pay attention to those kitchens and bathrooms and color schemes. That is your design cheat sheet. You are not reinventing the wheel. You are reverse engineering what buyers have already voted for with their wallets. So, instead of asking, "What finishes do I love?" ask, "What finishes are already working in this price point and neighborhood?" In a world of higher renovation and labor costs, you do not get paid for overspending. You get paid for smart, targeted upgrades that align with your buyer. Focus the bulk of your budget on what buyers notice immediately: curb appeal, kitchen, primary bathroom, flooring, and lighting.
stop going overboard on details that do not move the needle.
You are not building your forever home. You are building a profitable product for a specific customer.
Rule number 3. Your biggest risk is not just cost, it is time. People talk a lot about budget, but they underestimate how dangerous time is. Time kills flips.
Every extra week your project drags on, your holding costs keep ticking. Taxes, insurance, utilities, interest on your financing.
And the opportunity cost of having your money stuck in a deal that is not finished.
In 2026, with more inventory in some markets and buyers having more options, you cannot afford to treat timelines casually. The first way people get time wrong is at the rehab level. They assume a project will take 8 weeks because the contractor said so, or because that is what they have heard. But the reality of construction is almost always slower. Materials get delayed, trades show up late, inspections take longer than expected, change orders pop up. A smarter way to think about it is to connect timeline to scope. For example, you might say, for every $10,000 in rehab, expect roughly 2 weeks of work, then add a cushion. It is not perfect, but it forces you to connect budget to time and to build in contingency. The second time risk shows up when you list the property. In 2026, buyers have more leverage than they did in the frenzy years.
When a property hits the market, you have a critical early window where it is fresh and gets the most attention.
If you miss that window by listing too high, getting no activity, and then cutting the price after a month, your flip starts to look stale.
Once that happens, buyers ask what is wrong with it, and now you are in a weaker negotiating position. So, time is not only construction time, it is also time on market. Your strategy has to respect both. Budget for delays and price aggressively enough that you are not sitting on the market burning your profit. Rule number 4. Your ARV has to be bulletproof. ARV after repair value is the backbone of every flip analysis. If you get this wrong, everything else is built on sand.
Overestimating ARV is one of the most expensive mistakes flippers make, and in 2026, it is even more dangerous because price growth is not automatically bailing people out.
You cannot assume values will rise while you are renovating. You have to nail your exit price as tightly as possible. To do that, you only use sold comps, not active listings. You want properties that actually closed, ideally in the last 3 to 6 months, within a half mile to a mile of your subject property, in the same school district and similar neighborhood feel. Then, you match apples to apples. If your flip will be a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,600 square foot house, do not use a 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,300 square foot new build as your main comp. Look for similar bed and bath count, similar square footage, and a similar renovation level. Next, adjust conservatively. If the best comp sold for a high number with a superior layout or bigger lot, do not assume you can match that top dollar. Shade your ARV down a bit. If your property clearly has an advantage, you still do not push to the absolute top of the market unless you are very confident. It is better to be pleasantly surprised than financially crushed. Finally, treat ARV as a range, not a single magical number. Maybe your low scenario is 380, your mid is 400, and your stretch is 415. Underwrite your deal off the conservative number and see if it still makes sense. If it only works in the stretch scenario, that is a deal you probably should not touch. Rule number 5. Respect the rules that affect your exit, especially financing and regulations. This is a rule most beginners ignore, and it bites them later. Flipping is not just about what you do inside the house. It is about how your buyer will finance that house at the end. In 2026, a large number of first-time and entry-level buyers use loan programs that have specific rules, like FHA. FHA has flipping rules that restrict how soon a buyer can use FHA financing on a property that was recently purchased and resold. There are time windows, extra documentation requirements, and extra scrutiny on big price jumps between what you paid and what you are now asking after the rehab.
If you ignore these rules, you can find yourself in a position where your ideal buyer cannot actually close with the loan they plan to use.
This is especially important at lower price points, where FHA and similar products dominate. If you plan to buy, rehab, and list quickly, you need to understand how those timing rules work so you are not accidentally blocking your biggest buyer pool. Beyond loan rules, you should be thinking about permits and code.
If you skip permits or do work that does not meet code, inspections, appraisals, or lender conditions, can blow up deals or force last-minute repairs that chew up profit.
So the fifth rule is simple. Respect your exit. Before you ever buy, ask, who is likely to buy this from me? What type of financing will they use? Are there any rules or timelines I need to plan around?
When you flip with the end buyer and their loan in mind, you make smarter acquisition decisions and avoid nasty surprises at closing.
Now, let's bring it all together. First, you start with the buy. Instead of asking, could this be a flip? You ask, at what price would this be a great flip? That mental shift forces discipline. You are not chasing deals. You are setting criteria and letting the right deals meet your numbers. You run the numbers based on a conservative ARV and a realistic rehab and timeline. If the seller will not come down to a price that leaves enough margin, you pass. Second, you design for your market, not your ego. You do a quick comp study for finishes and build a design template based on what has already sold. You decide where to spend a little extra to stand out just enough, but keep most choices aligned with what buyers in that area already want. Third, you plan for time. You connect scope to weeks, build in a cushion, and run your numbers, assuming delays. If the deal is too tight with realistic assumptions, you do not force it. Fourth, you treat ARV like a test you must pass. You double-check comps, avoid using active listings as proof of value, and sanity check your assumptions with local experts instead of relying on hope. Fifth, you think through your exit strategy before you ever close on the purchase. You know who your likely buyer is, what loan they will use, and what rules or timelines might apply.
If you apply these 5 rules, you are already ahead of most new flippers in 2026. Instead of chasing the hype, you are operating like a disciplined investor.
You are buying right, designing smart, respecting timelines, nailing ARV, and planning your exit from day one. That is how you flip houses without getting flipped by the market.
And before you go, if you found this breakdown helpful and you want more content on house flipping, DSCR loans, and real estate investing strategies that actually work in 2026,
Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you do not miss any of my future videos.